Hi everybody! I thought I would pop on. A couple of people have asked me over the last few days, how do you fill bezels? So the best way to explain is to show you. It's not a difficult process, it just takes a little bit of patience over time and a little bit of know-how. Just like everything resin really. It's a bit of trial and error sometimes. So what we're going to do is I've got a couple of bezels here that I'm going to show you. I've got a nice little stray bit of probably cat hair. They are banned from this room, however, ... So I'm going to do one of these tiny little sakura. So I've got quite fat fingers. That's about finger sized. And then I'm going to do, these are the things that people seem to be asking a lot of questions on. These are the stainless steel bezels. This is one that I did yesterday. I actually recorded this demo yesterday, but when I came to edit it, a lot of it was out of focus. So that's gone in the delete pile in the recycle bin. What I wanted to show you was the difference between a normal thickness bezel. This is one that I did yesterday, just as a demo. So this is a normal thickness bezel. In fact, this is probably one of the thinner ones. And this is stainless steel. So stainless steel are very thin in comparison, so they're more likely to overspill. You overfill them, so they need really, really small amounts, and just topping up. But we'll start with the normal sort of bezel first. So this is the sort of thing that's normally made from alloy. So it's not your precious metal in any way, shape or form. There's nothing special. It's what the majority of bezels are made for, unless you look for something different or specific, like stainless steel or precious metal, silver, etc. So what we're going to do is first of all lift it up because it's full stuff and I've got no nails underneath these gloves. Most bezels have a front and a back, particularly this sort. This is your sort of traditional sort of gold. You see a lot of these in the different shapes, the animals, that sort of thing. The back is always flat. I'm looking just at the gold frame here. So the back is flat, the front is more curved and down. So that's the front. You would normally put the tape across the back, because essentially what you're trying to do, if you imagine any sort of silicone mould, you've got the sides which contain the resin going that way, and the base or bottom which stops the resin falling out the bottom. Simple, right? But we don't have a base or a bottom on here, so we have to create one. To do that, we use dam tape. Now, this dam tape is something that some people struggle with. Some people struggle from time to time. Other people don't seem to have an issue with it. Little nifty tip there: if you've got no nails, it's very difficult to get the end of it. Just use the pair. This is just a pair of scissors that I've got for cutting it. Nothing magic. Just to peel the edge up. I'm going to cut off the smallest amount because it's only a tiny weeny bezel, and you don't want loads of sticky stuff on necessarily. Because it gets stuck to you, it sticks to your gloves, it sticks to your mat, it sticks to your arm, you drag your resin out. This is experience speaking here. Let's try and remember to keep over my little white spot there, because then I know you can see what I'm doing. So just about when I've cut that off, this edge is just sitting up away from the roll. Just smooth it down so it doesn't get dusty. And some tips, guys, and some tips. So this is the sticky side, obviously, you can see it stuck to my glove. With this bezel, it doesn't matter, it's not got a front and a back actually, but I'm going to place it, this is going to be my back, okay, so I'm going to stretch it taut, because the last thing that you want is a wrinkly bottom. Oh, a little bit of humour, and then I'm going to use my this is like a little scraper, spreader tool that I picked up from, I think they were from my wholesalers. It was like a set of 3. People use this sort of thing. They use lolly sticks, like the craft sticks. Some of you might have in for stirring. They use old loyalty cards or old credit cards. Anything that's a little bit flexible. If it's not flexible, it will just snap. That you can press down on. So what I'm trying to do, essentially, is just form a seal. If you've ever used any of the MDF shapes that Dennis does, the sort of geometric shapes, or the flowers, all the sorts of different shapes that he does, you know the importance of sealing each bit. So in this case, I'm kind of specifically going around each petal from the middle to the outside. If you don't have a good seal all the way around, your resin's going to leak. If there is a way out, resin will find it. So make sure it's nice and firmly pressed down. Burnished, I think, is a term that I've heard used. Whether it's the correct one, I don't know. So I'm turning it over. What I'm going to do now is just a little thing that I do personally. It's not in any rule book or anything, you know, there's no saying, oh, you must do this. What I'm going to do is try and, at the moment the tape is sitting really flat on the back of there. What I'm going to try and do is try and bring it up the sides just a touch. So I'm going to create a nice spongy, so I've folded my mat here. So I've got a little mat and then another mat, and then I've made that in, so it's a little bit I've made a bit of sponginess for it. It's a little bit thicker than it was. Place it on there, and I'm going to push it down. So what it's doing is, as you're pushing the bezel down, the tape is not going down with it, and it's creating a very slight curve. Only slight, but if it's enough to make more of a seal to stop it leaking, then it's worth spending 10 seconds doing, I say. Bezels are great to have just by the side because they take up so little resin, and let's face it, none of us are that accurate with our pours. We might say, oh, okay, this is going to use, I don't know, 150 mil. Actually, it only uses 145. You've got the tiniest little bit of resin left over. What do you do with it? Whack it in a bezel, turn it into a keyring, turn it into a necklace, turn it into earrings. Really, really easy. So I've given that a good press over. I'm happy now that it's not going to get any more stuck than it is. So what I'm going to do is just trim this off from around the edge, because it is very sticky and I don't want it to be catching on the sleeves or my gloves or my accent. When I reach over, I don't want to be dragging it around and upsetting my resin. So you can use any sort of resin that you wish. I am going to use UV resin, ultraviolet resin, which is activated by UV light, purely because it's quick and I can show you start to finish in one video. I'm not going to have to wait for a cure and then see what happens at the end and then top up or if necessary and blah blah blah. This is not the brand that I'm using. This, I buy mine in a litre bottle and then decant it into this. This is a bottle that I've had for a long time now, so you can see the state of it. It's a bit nasty looking, but it's much easier to manoeuvre a small bottle like this than it is a great big litre, I find anyway. So there are some downsides with UV resin. They don't work terribly well with anything that interferes with the UV light being able to pass through. So for example, if you're looking at mica powders or opaque pastes, bear in mind you can get translucent pastes, they're not an issue. So anything where it creates that solid colour, if you're using massively chunky glitter, it will get in the way. UV resin works differently to epoxy, and it cures from the outside in. So it will cure the skin first, and then the UV light will continue to penetrate all the way through until the middle is cured and solid. What happens if you put too much mica powder in or paste? Again, speaking from experience here, not long after I first started, I started working with the UV resin. I made a beautiful pendant. It was, I was so impressed with it. It absolutely looked stunning. It was nice and metallic-y mica, and it got a little bit of special wire in it, and oh yeah, I thought it was the dog's doodahs. And then I went to put a screw eye in it, and it squeezed like a tube of toothpaste because the UV light in the middle hadn't cured. You wouldn't have known from the outside. If I hadn't have made a hole into it, it could have sat there for years. It probably would have burst at some point just because of changes in temperature. But yeah, just be mindful of what you use in UV resin. Same with inclusions, clays, that sort of thing. The light can't get through. If it doesn't touch those molecules of resin, it won't cure. It's as simple as that. It's simple science. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to use just some glitter in this one, and I've got some on one side somewhere. This is the one, so I'm going to use, this is one of my favourites from Yvonne. This is a holographic dusky pink. I'm going to get my magical glitter spoon. Glitter spoon slash glitter spoon. Mica shovel. Glitter spoon. Mica shovel. You're welcome. So I'm not going to need an awful lot. You see, there's not going to be an awful lot of resin in there, is there? So I don't want a huge amount of glitter because, as I say, I don't want to stop the UV rays getting through. I'm going to go with that. See how that is for now. And notice I don't use the spoon that I used to mix, that I used to scoop the glitter for mixing the glitter. So that spoon stays dry apart from a quick wipe with a damp bit of kitchen towel or baby wipe, whatever your wipe of choice is. I'm mixing. I normally use, if I'm doing big amounts of resin and I'm doing different colours, I normally use these. These are, I think they're sold as sauce pots or that sort of thing. I can't remember what they're called, I bought them ages ago for something else. And they come with lids, and this is the lid. So I've made two things out of one. There's no point using one of these. I'm going to have the tiniest blob of resin. So all I need is literally one blob, 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 5 blobs. Blob, 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 and one for the pot. And an air bubble, just for good measure. We love a bit of air bubbles. So, obviously it's quite intricate. I'm not going to go at it with a great big stir stick, like this sort of thing, or even that end. I'm not even going to go at it with my old favourite glue spreaders. These are so therapeutic, Dennis. I need to get some more of these just to cover them in resin and sit peeling them off. It's just like being back at school. I'm going to use a cocktail stick because you can mix and you can blob, and that's all we need today. So I'm going to try and do it. It's difficult. You've got to mix the glitter in. I'm kind of spreading it rather than stirring it so I don't get bubbles. Not that you'd really notice bubbles in this, and I say this is just a quick example to show you how it's done. There, mixed, ready. So I'm picking some up on the end of my cocktail stick. I'm looking at where the widest part of each little cell is. So let's call them cells. Okay, so each piece that we need to colour in is going to be a cell. So I'm always aiming for the widest part. No matter what bezel I'm doing, always the widest part. And I'm going to put a blob in each. I could have done different colours. Oops, a bit too much on there. Put a blob in each and just give it a chance to spread itself out, because it will find its own way, and if it doesn't, we will go back and give it a little nudge. I can see that I've got a little hair in there somewhere. It's not a hair, it's like a fibre. Underneath this silicone mat is a board, and underneath that board are some puppy pads which you put, what I used to save my desk. Hasn't worked so far. All sorts. I'm trying to find that fibre. Yeah, sometimes it picks up the little fibres off the top of the puppy pad. That's where I was going with that. So I'm going back in with another blob just to see if we can get it. There's the fibre. Gotcha. I could see it dragging, but I couldn't actually see it. Another tiny blob. Well, there's still something there, but it's just going to have to live there for the moment. If you can see it as I put it through the resin. I hope you can see this clearly. I'm not even putting the whole amount in, I'm just letting it sit. I'm touching the resin to the resin, letting it sort of spread out. Just making sure you can still see me. Well, not me. You don't want that. I'll zoom in a little bit. There we go. This is all a bit new to me, this recording malarkey. So, I don't know if you can see from your perspective, but as I've got the light shining on it, this petal and this petal, I've got a little bit more in than the other three. And that's causing them to dome slightly, which is nice. So I've picked up again the tiniest amount. Don't necessarily want it all to go in there, but surface tension will keep it sort of attached to your cocktail stick and your fibre. as you take it away, you can see how much it's leaving behind. Okay, bezel number 1 done. This is all sticky. There we go. And move that off to the side. I'm going to bring the UV lamp in now. My UV lamp is set for 90 seconds. I give it a long press. I don't know what wattage or voltage or anything this is. I've had it quite a while, as you'll see by the state of it. I'm going to pop that under there for 90 seconds. I'll skip the video and I'll see you just after it's finished. Okay, so that's had its 90 seconds. I'm going to just pop that to the side and let's see how it's looking. Where's my little spatula? Here we go. Little glue spreader. So in theory, that should have a nice hard skin on the top now. Now, after 90 seconds, it may not be fully cured, and it will not be fully cured all the way through because, repeat after me, the glitter's in the way, the UV light can't get all the way through. But by flipping it over and giving it some, on the other side, obviously this tape will let the UV light through, it will cure off enough. But what I'm going to do for now, I'm just going to give it a very gentle, yeah, it's tappable. I think it's, if I put my fingernail in it, it would make a mark, without a doubt. I'm going to set it to one side for the moment, because I can pop that back under the UV light with the next one that I'm going to do now, and we can save a little bit of electricity, save a little bit of time. Hopefully you can still see what's occurring. Okay, so whilst that was under the lamp, I moved out of the way a little bit and started to get my next resin ready. So this one is for the unicorn bezel. Okay, stainless steel, shiny shiny. So I thought I'd have something a little bit magical, a little bit holographic. Just trying to see how much you can actually see. Okay, right in the middle. So again, I've put the tiniest couple of blobs. So what I've got in here is, again, glitter spray Von, fine holographic turquoise and candy floss. So both have got that kind of mystical sort of holographic, I don't know what it's going to look like mixed together. I've never done this before. It's nice to experiment though, eh? Wanted something really fine. No point trying to put a chunky glitter in these holes. It just won't fit. Just not going to happen. So okay, that perhaps looks a little bit more murky than I'd thought, but it will still look nice. And again, it's just to show you the method, really. Let's move that out of the way for a moment because we need your oldie dam tape. Some people don't use dam tape, some people use parcel tape, sort of thing that you would use if you're packing boxes. Some people use sticky back plastic. Each to their own. I've never tried parcel tape. I don't know if it comes off cleanly. I don't know if there's particular brands, whether it needs to be the clear stuff, the brown stuff, I don't know. And no doubt there are lots of people who will give their opinions and say what works for them. Dam tape sometimes leaves a sticky residue. I did some research on the group before Christmas actually. I think I had about 18 people respond. I can't pick that up. About 18 people respond to my questionnaire that I did to try and find out what the problem was with dam tape, why people were having these issues with it leaving a sticky residue. Was it to do with the particular brand of resin that they were using? Was it to do with how long they left it after curing? Was it I don't know, lots of questions. Did they use isopropyl alcohol? Was it only on certain types of bezel? Did it only happen when they were using wooden frames? So lots of questions, but no real answers, sadly, which was a bit disappointing because it's always nice to be able to solve problems for people. I've always removed my dam tape more or less straight away after curing. With UV it's kind of instant really, because it's, you know, the outside, as I said before, the outside is firm and solid, so you can pull that away even if it needs further curing under the lamp to penetrate all the way through for, say, a deeper bezel. So again, just really pressing this down really hard. Chopping off the excess. Sticky. I've actually got 2 out of 1 strip. Look, I've got another one handy. Says the woman with thousands of bezels in the cupboards downstairs. But hey, they're downstairs, that's the problem. I'm going to create my little boingy bed. I'm going to come up this way this time because I've got my bezel on the other one. My little boingy mat. Give it a good squish. I'm just pressing on the bezel to the point if it's actually uncomfortable. But I'm trying not to press on the tape so that the tape comes up the sides and forms that sleeve. You can see nothing leaks out of the other one. You can't see because it's out of shot, but nothing leaks out of the other one. Trust me. Okay, let's get rid of it. Random bits of glitter as much as I can with the shape without having to properly clean down. Let's just find one little spot where you're at. Whoop. Okay, good. So this one's going to be a little bit more tricky. I've chosen my most pointiest of cocktail sticks. Not all cocktail sticks are equal. Some have sharp ends, some have stubby ends. So out of the half dozen or so that I've got here, I've chosen the pointiest one. For obvious reasons, I want to be able to get into these tiny weeny holes if I can. Now, this may not work. Purely and simply because you can only get, there's got to be a bare minimum amount of resin on your stick before it will drop off. It's physics. It has to be able to form a blob. It has to have a certain amount of mass behind it for it to want to drop off your stick. So I know already that I'm going to have problems with these bits down the main. I will show you a solution to that problem, but let's continue as we are. So again, aiming for the widest part, patience. If I plop that in there now, it's going to squelch all up the sides. If I push it down, if I let it trickle, it will find its own way. Again, just being mindful of what a tiny amount I need to pick up on my stick. Going for this one next. Again, the biggest gap. No point trying to squeeze my cocktail stick down there if I don't have to. Just nudging it. Sometimes it needs a little bit of guidance and really just touching it with the very tip. I do want to make sure that it gets into the corners though, otherwise when you flip it over you'll find you've got holes. Okay, so now we're getting into gulp territory. I'm just going to pop a little bit more on these two because they're not properly filling up. Again, I'm just using the surface tension of the resin, so the way it likes to grab onto other wet substances, i.e. resin, to drag it along. So I'm going for this one, I think. I really don't think I'm going to be able to do these smaller ones. Not with a cocktail stick, anyway, no. Right, I'm giving up at that point with a cocktail stick. I'm moving on to secret weapon. Dressmaking pin. The only problem is with this, it's not very easy to scoop resin up, and it's also a little bit more difficult to manoeuvre with gloves on. I think I may have to resort to my other favoured method. these are tricky, which they are. I don't know if you can see on this one, it's slightly overspilled here. So I'm going to cheat. Okay. Have you ever created something with an engraved pattern on? So, like, she says, just Peter styling, anything like this that you've had to either put mica in or put perhaps acrylic painting or whatever to finish it off to make that embellishment stand out. You smear it all on, you wipe it off. Guess what? You can do that with bezels too. Really only works when you've got these tiny ones, otherwise you're just creating a mess. When I say tiny ones, I don't mean the actual bezel, I mean the holes. Now, there may well be another way that some of you know. This is just a way that I find that works for me. I know there are a lot of experienced resin artists out there. So I'm just making sure that I'm pushing right down so that I don't get any air bubbles in the back. Okay, the resin's in, but the resin is also on, which, you know, might look quite nice if you like that sort of thing, but that's not really what we're here for. That's not what we signed up for. We wanted to just fill the holes in the bezel. So I am going to create my own little scraper here. So I'm using the scraper that I used, a bit of kitchen towel. Just going to get the excess out of the way because it's just faff and in the way. So I'm just holding it. I'm going to make sure I'm holding this firmly. So I'm going to hold it by the unicorn horn and I'm going to scrape. I'm going to keep my scraper as flat to the piece as I possibly can. So I'm not dead flat, but just slightly up. So I'm not pushing into the holes and dragging the resin out. And I've just got my fingers all in a bit of a puddle. Okay, that's what's come off. And just move it up to a clean bit in the same direction. Less came off that time. Try and remove my sticky glove. I'm going to go in a different direction this time. And I'm just moving the paper down. And around just to make sure I've got a nice clean bit, so no point wiping it with a piece that's already got resin on. Hear the concentration. I've got my tongue out. Family thing. Stick the tongue out when you concentrate. Yeah. That was pretty painless, wasn't it? Just want to make sure that there's not any touching the sides of the bezel, like here. Just checking this little bit here. You don't have to clean it all up once it's cured. That's a bit more of a job. If you wanted to, you could just give it a wipe over with some isopropyl alcohol on a cotton bud. I don't know why I'm desperately trying to wipe this bit of resin off my pin. I've got, you know, millions of them. There we go, and I've got gloves which do the job much faster. But yeah, if you want to go at it with a bit of isopropyl alcohol, which mine is here somewhere. And my bottle is very nearly empty. I literally just put a little spritz on the end. Leave that out so I remember to top it up before I do my next. Just to be 100% sure, there's nothing left on there. I'm quite happy with that. If you can see. Ooh. There's literally nothing on that. 2 tiny specks maybe. So there we go. So we are ready to give that a blast under the lamp. I'm going to bring back in a little sakura flower to share the UV light. Again, going to pop it on for 90 seconds and I shall see you on the other side. Okay, all done. Chances are this will need another blast. I forgot to turn this over, didn't I? I realised about halfway through. It will still have helped. I just want to check the back. Actually, do you know what? I think we're okay with that. And again, yeah. So let's go for it. Let's peel this tape off. Now I don't want you to miss how this looks. So let's stand up and hopefully get you in about the right place. So to peel the tape off, you want to peel the tape back, but keep it as low and as flat to the piece as you can. And just be mindful of any residue that you might see when you start to peel it off. So I'm pulling it back from the horn, nice and clear and shiny. I don't know if you can see that there. So I've bent that right back. Stuck to my horse, very fiddly pieces. So I'm going to keep it. Keep the tape nice and flat, not up here. Pull it up like that, you're more likely to leave residue. What happens is sometimes the green of the tape delaminates from the adhesive, so you end up pulling the tape off and leaving the adhesive on. Again, so I'm not quite sure why, but little tricks. Just making sure there's nothing left on there at all. So that's that one. Let's dispose of you. And the same with our little flower. So I'm going to peel it back. I'm going to flip it over so I can keep an eye on what's occurring. We are. Job's a good one. I would probably put these in again for another blast, just to make sure they're fully cured, and then I will leave them on the windowsill for a couple of days, because even if it's cloudy you will find that the UV light is still there and it will still help just to firm up. I'm not sure if you can see, I'm trying to look on the camera. Unfortunately, it's angled away from me, it's a bit difficult to see with the light. I'm not sure if you can see the holographic effect, but it's really, really pretty, really beautiful. I'll take some photos of this and pop them up at the end of the video for you so you can see the finished product. So that was the little sakura flower. Whoop. Come on. And that's your stainless steel unicorn. A couple of little tiny bits missed there, I think. Just there, it's got some in it, but not as much as I would have liked. I've saved it, so I can always go back over and put some more in just to fill it up. Again, not sure if you can appreciate the holographic effect on there. Show you the other side. That was the side that did as the front, and that was the back that had the tape on. So there we go. One other thing I just wanted to mention is sometimes you're not just going to get this part. It's sometimes got a jump ring attached to it, or it's got some sort of bail attached to it. So as it was just curing that last little bit, I went to my drawer and found this. So this has got quite a big, I mean it's a big piece anyway. I'm just going to zoom out for this little bit, I think. So you can see it, I'm talking about a little more clearly. You need, when you're curing a bezel, particularly obviously if you're leaving it to cure with epoxy resin rather than just blasting it with UV, you need it to sit flat, obviously, otherwise your resin is just going to overspill, it's going to pour out in the same way that it would out of the edge of a mould, in exactly the same way. But if you've got something like this, what are you going to do? Because when you put that on a flat surface, she says just reaching for a flat surface, I used to demonstrate. So imagine that this surface here is my tabletop. Okay, I need my bezel to sit flat. It's not sitting flat. Apart from the fact that this is curved, you can see it's a lot closer that end than it is that end because of this part of the ring. So what we do is we use the edge of the table. We hang that hook, loop, bail, jump ring. Jump rings you can take off. But if you've got something like that and you need it to be flat, hang it over the edge of the table or use a mould or something to prop it up. There we go, look. Masking tape. If I sat it there on there, it's not the best example because it's curved, but imagine that this part of it was flat. Okay, if I set it up there, this part's touching, this part's up in the air. This part here, just here, is up in the air. This part is flat. But if I hang that over the edge, it's all flat. So I hope that helps, because it's one of those questions that people have said, oh, I did it, I put it in, and it's all stuck and it's all run down one end, or it's all run over the end, and I've got a dodgy bezel. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So there we go, little hints and tips, as I say. So these are the two that we've done today. I shall, as I say, take photos for you and pop it in the vid, which I shall edit straight away for you. And I'll pop it in the group. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, just leave them for me in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.